This week on ANN, we're taking a look back over the years to see how Adventist communication and technology experts discuss ways to use their skills for the church.
See a recap of last week's Global Adventist Internet Network Conference.
And the church's Chief Information Officer explains why it's important for Adventist tech professionals to collaborate.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week for our special GAIN 2016 edition.
Since 2004, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has sponsored a conference to bring together communication and technology experts with the aim of using the most advanced skills and the mission of the church. The first Global Adventist Internet Network Conference, previously known as the Global Internet Evangelism Network, was held in the U.S. state of Maryland. Since then, church professionals have traveled to various places including Bangkok, Thailand, Montego Bay, Jamaica, and Dubai, United Arab Emirates to network and exchange ideas. Here are some of the highlights from past GAIN conferences.
We don't have a choice on whether we do social media. The question is how well we do it.
Thank you very much. It's my delight to be with you.
This church has probably been doing Week of Prayers for more than 100 years. So how can we do this in a modern way?
Young people are getting involved in serving other people.
We need to move forward.
What is the most viewed YouTube video to date? Anyone have an idea?
It's important that we, from an evangelism standpoint, we are flexible and that we adapt to stay relevant.
What can we do with it? What does the future hold?
We want to get to a 3D game, which I'm going to talk about later.
You shouldn't be thinking about the editing. You shouldn't be thinking about how well it cut together. You should be engaged with the narrative.
Be receiving information about how to communicate in the 21st century with their kids.
Now I have another challenge, which is to turn this game and actually use it as a worldwide evangelistic tool.
To reach our youth, to reach those who don't know much about the Bible.
We wanted the young people to share with the external audiences that they can also read the Bible.
It's important that we understand online who your audience is and what type of language they speak.
To see the seriousness and commitment in delivering this wonderful hope, this wonderful message to all of us.
Because it doesn't really help to know the wrong truth, it helps to know the right truth.
But it was a tragedy for us, a crisis for us. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about what I've written.
Many of you walk around with weapons like this.
And then some cases to inspire you in your daily activities.
And I saw students passionately discussing theology.
Why don't you Google us? And this time, it was my moment, really, because we've been working on this project, and this was the moment when I knew if they Googled Adventist or Seventh-day Adventist, I was going to be proud of what they saw first.
This is the first time we are holding GAIN online. We are broadcasting during different time zones for the whole world to see.
We welcome your questions. We want to know today, what do you do to secure your websites? How do you keep current on the things? And how do you communicate with people the need for security?
So tell me about the security of this.
At the close of 2014, there was over 10,000 churches in various denominations who were using the multi-site model to effectively reach their communities.
Many centers of influence that will capitalize what have been done through the work of media, the TV, radio, internet.
The theme for this year's GAIN was telling our story in a rapidly changing world. More than 200 Adventist communicators and tech experts discussed how to share the church's story and missions by using social media, apps, and the web, particularly in a world where technological innovations are made almost on a daily basis. Guests heard dynamic presentations on various topics, including motivational storyteller from the Middle East and North Africa. Adventist communication leaders, media experts, journalists, ministry leaders, and educators shared various ways the church can use the best practices to advance its mission. More than 250 communicators and technology experts exchanged these ideas during a 5-day GAIN conference at the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the U.S. state of Maryland. The numerous presentations given during the 12th GAIN conference centered on the theme, Telling Our Story in a Rapidly Changing World. Attendees learned about maintaining a paperless office, using data to reach big cities, reaching the maximum amount of web users with excellent design, hearing from a Microsoft engineer about product collaboration, understanding copyright laws, creating virtual reality videos, and communicating in times of crisis. The conference also featured dynamic keynote presentations. GAIN 2016 kicked off with a message from Gary Krause from Adventist Mission, who spoke about the role communication plays in sharing the holistic, life-changing message of the gospel, specifically in urban areas. On the conference's second day, representatives from Life Academy, an initiative for evangelism and discipleship, shared their plans to create interactive online programs to reach young adults. Gerson Pinto, Felipe Rodriguez, Ricardo Devay share they are currently in the process of creating an online ecosystem that will change the way people in South America experience the message of the Adventist Church. During the conference's third day, attendees heard 2 keynote presentations. The first keynote was delivered by representatives from the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Media Center in the Inter-European region. Klaus Papa, Paul and Georgie shared their Impact 2020 strategy that uses creative means to support the denomination's Total Member Involvement initiative. The final keynote presentation was given by Joanne Davison, who is a professor of theology at Andrews University in the U.S. state of Michigan. Davison talked about God as an artist and how he used art to communicate his love and character throughout the Bible. An added feature to GAIN was Project Slam, which allowed various communication leaders and innovators to share their projects in 7 minutes. This allowed for more attendees who didn't give full 25-minute presentations to have the opportunity to share their ministries and projects with their global colleagues. During GAIN's Sabbath School program, attendees heard mission stories from representatives from the Adventist Church in China. Daniel Zhao and Zhao Ru shared their various projects and initiatives to reach the vast population in China with the gospel message. They were also presented with a NET Award for their great achievements in the nation of China in spite of the numerous religious liberty challenges imposed by the nation's government. The final event of the GAIN conference was the world premiere of the film Opposites of the Same Story. The film was a project from Brazil Adventist University that shared the story of a man who overcame obstacles, including an abusive father, homelessness, and lack of education, to go on to make a major contribution to his society. The main character of the film also attended the premiere. Organizers of the conference hoped attendees were inspired by the wide variety of content and presentations to reach the world with the Adventist message.
Coming up, learn why top Adventist technology experts believe GAIN is a vital conference for the denomination.
Are you taking heart medicines? Medications can give us a false sense of security. Even if a person takes heart medicines, eating a lot of saturated or trans fats, fast and junk foods, red and processed meats, sweets, and processed foods will still increase inflammation and make cardiovascular disease worse. That's a fact. But there's hope. A study of more than 31,000 adults found that you can substantially reduce cardiovascular recurrence beyond drug therapy alone by eating a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, and fish, and low in meats. A heart-healthy diet reduced their risk of dying from cardiovascular disease by 35%, a new heart attack by 14%, heart failure by 28%, and stroke by 19%. So eat your veggies. A healthy heart starts with a healthy meal.
My husband and I recently went to a hospital to visit someone.
It was one of those huge, massively huge hospitals. And as we were standing there looking at the wall map, trying to figure out where to go, we couldn't even figure out where we were. A hospital staff person came and asked us where we wanted to go. We told him. And then he said, "Oh, okay, I'll take you to the elevator that will take you to the floor that you are looking for. Come, follow me." Well, when we got to the floor, there were no signs. So we weren't quite sure where we needed to go. Well, a nurse came by just at that time, and she said, "I'll show you to the room that you are looking for. Follow me." That's what Jesus did for me. He showed me the way. Jesus, the Son, came personally to this earth as a human being to show me God, the Father. Jesus, through his actions of dying on the cross for my sins, showed me God's amazing love for me. The Bible tells us that Jesus and God the Father are one. So if you know Jesus, then he will show you the way to the Father.
Welcome back. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has sponsored the GAIN Conference for 13 years. But is it still necessary? Why is it so important for Adventist professionals in the communication and technology fields to exchange ideas and discuss emerging trends?
I sat down with Nancy Lamoureux, Chief Information Officer for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and Daryl Gungadu, Global Distribution Manager and R&D Engineer for Adventist World Radio, to discuss these questions and more. Welcome, Nancy. Welcome, Daryl. Thank you for coming. Let's get right into the discussion here. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of GAIN and where it came from? How did it come about?
Well, before GAIN, it used to be called GIEN, but even before that, it was more of a geeky conference ran by Southern University's computer science department. And it was called, at that time, if I recall correctly, Computing and Missions.
Correct.
And I believe that's where we first met.
That is where we met.
We were in a university amphitheater ran by the computer science department. Yes. And they tried to bring as many geeky people together to have a discussion on where technology is and where technology can go in our church, connecting the computer science field to missions.
Right. So it was called Computing and Missions, and then Global Internet Evangelism Network.
Correct.
And then Global Adventist Internet Network.
So the initial initiative was just a computer science department from a university that wanted to show something, a new twist to computer science, that computer science could be indeed applied to missions. And the whole idea that grew out of this, that started from just a university campus down in Tennessee to being now global, and taken over by the General Conference, is really
it's amazing.
A progress that is worth noting.
And let me tell you a little bit about the takeover of the General Conference in 2004. Elder Wilson was a vice president at that time of the General Conference, and his vision at that time, and still is to enhance and improve the global technology of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I remember the first time we met here in 2004, as we were meeting here again in the auditorium, and we had about 35 people in attendance.
Wow.
It was shifting from a university setting to a General Conference setting.
And the whole idea that grew out of this, that started from just a university campus down in Tennessee to being now global, and taken over by the General Conference, is really a progress that is worth noting. And for me, the probably most defining GAIN event would have probably be the 2013 one in Dubai, where we had discussed the whole concept of having our church have an actual CIO, and there you are.
That was a defining moment, wasn't it?
And I believe that was the first one where we had IT meetings in conjunction
with
the
GAIN.
Hope Channel had also a meeting afterwards.
As The meeting in Dubai is where the Office for the CIO came to life as the division started asking for representation at the General Conference. And so we could have a better plan of working together and not work independently in divisions. At that time, I was Director of IT for the North American Division, and I also made the plea to the officers to have that position created. And ultimately, here we are, a year and a half later, and the position is here. Actually, it's 2.5 years later, but the position is here.
That is amazing, and it truly shows the relevance of the conference. What if you're speaking to somebody who's thinking about going, thinking about attending GAIN? This is an IT professional, media professional, who may or may not work for the church, but they're in these fields. Why would they come? And if they do come, what would they expect to see? What types of presentations? What kind of networking?
The concept of when it first started as Computing and Mission was very geeky, as I said earlier. So we talked shop. We talked about all the nitty-gritty aspects of technology. As communication took this over, some new concepts of communications using IT also came in, so it diluted a little bit the geekiness of this. So for people who are more communications people and are not necessarily that technically savvy, that's a perfect environment as well. They're not going to be shunned. But for the technical people, rubbing shoulders with non-technical people, however, people who are still interested in seeing what technology can do for them, is very important. And in a way, it teaches all of us to work together in our different skill sets, and teaches us how to communicate to each other cross boundaries.
Yeah, I think the interaction we have with each other during these meetings, our face-to-face interaction, is our most important part of these meetings. We have excellent speakers. We have the variety of subjects is vast, but the talking to each other has changed the way we do technology in this church.
And so would you say it's still relevant today?
Oh, GAIN is more relevant now than it's ever been, because as we have talked to each other and we realize where our strengths and weaknesses are around the world, we're more able to help each other and fill in where some of our organizations and our divisions don't have the resources that others have. And we learn that, and we learn ways that we can help them with their technology. And that has been one of the biggest benefits, I think, is this just helping each other to grow. In spite of limitations or whatever is stopping them, we can step in, those of us who may have more resources, and assist. And that has made a big difference.
It's also a platform in our church where we can actually open up and say that we're vulnerable. But through that vulnerability, we can together find solutions.
Strength and solutions.
Yeah, very often, you know, at a year-end planning meeting or a report type event, we want to put our best face forward.
Very true.
At GAIN, we actually put our vulnerabilities forward, and together we find solutions.
We find solutions.
That's excellent. Nancy and Daryl, I want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for allowing us to share. One of the things that we, both of us, really enjoy about working for the church is GAIN.
To stick around for our GAIN 2016 Tech Report.
But up next, we know what church attendance can do for spiritual health, but what about your physical health? Stay tuned for the answer.
One thing that really overwhelms me is the fact that, you know, I don't have a job. How am I going to provide for my family? During that time, I recall trusting God to direct my path in this. Prayer is the exercise of faith, and by it daily, God bestows privileges upon us.
I remember that happy day when I finally proposed to my high school sweetheart. I was so excited, I literally counted down the days until the wedding date. But you know, the thing that I looked forward to the most was just being able to be together, to live life together, to finally be with each other. You know, no more good nights over the phone, no more vacations or trips without each other, no more heartsick goodbyes. Wherever I would be, there she could be too. And it's that same kind of eagerness. You know, the eagerness of a groom who just can't wait for the wedding day. It's that eagerness that I hear in the voice of Jesus in John chapter 14, verse 2 and 3, when he says, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And that's the voice of the heavenly groom saying, I am coming again, and I can't wait to be with you. And you can't help but realize that what's highest on his mind is getting to be with us for eternity. I can lift up my head knowing that Jesus is coming, and that he's coming as that heavenly groom who can't wait for that day that where he is, I can be with him.
Welcome back! Did you know that those who attend church on a regular basis tend to report better physical and mental health? Find out more in this week's episode of Live It.
No matter what backgrounds we come from, we all experience high and low points in our lives. And for many of us, these hard times bring on periods of depression and anxiety, whether it's clinically diagnosed or not.
Today, depression is the biggest single mental illness in America. 25% of women and 10% of men will suffer one or more episodes of clinical depression in their lifetimes.
Loma Linda University Health discovered that we can reduce our risk for depression and anxiety through positive religious coping. The first thing we need to know is that there are two different types of religiosity, extrinsic and intrinsic.
Extrinsic religiosity is doing religious things because you think you'll get something out of it. Two broad areas that they found were going to church primarily for social reasons and praying in order to relieve your own suffering.
Intrinsic religiosity focuses on others
rather than on ourselves and is beneficial to our health.
The healthy aspect is thinking about what can I do for others? How can I help other people? It's the two great commandments, love God, love your neighbor.
The research team found that the direct health benefits of positive religious coping are living longer, having lower blood pressure, and lowering the risk for depression and anxiety.
So how can we incorporate positive religiosity into our lives, no matter what our personal beliefs?
Our first tip is to see how we can help those around us, like our family, friends, and coworkers.
We should ask ourselves, how can I help someone else have a great day today? And then take action.
The second tip is to look for the benefits we can find within our hard times and challenges.
We should ask ourselves, what does God want me to learn from this?
What are the potential good outcomes? And what kind of support can I seek from God when I'm faced with a crisis?
There are your tips for the day on how you can live healthier longer.
To learn more about Live It, Loma Linda University Health's online health show, and to watch past episodes, visit liveitlomalinda.org. For this week's social media report, Angela Taipei shares some of her favorite highlights from 2016 GAIN Conference.
During last week's GAIN meetings, social media played a big part of the experience for participants and those interested in the event, but who were unable to be there in person, by taking the presentations from Silver Spring, Maryland to the digital world. One way social media was incorporated into the event was a screen that was set up in the back of the auditorium to highlight those tweeting and posting on Instagram with the hashtag GAIN16. This helped encourage participants to share what they had been learning, as well as remind them that when they walked into the space, they could see what had been happening in the event so far in their own words. If you want to do something like this, we definitely encourage it. Just make sure the program that you are using gives you the opportunity to moderate the tweets and posts that will be displayed. You wouldn't want something embarrassing to appear when everyone's watching. Set some goals before the event to give you an idea of what you're hoping to accomplish through social media. And to help give you more information about how well your social media worked out during an event, don't forget to track the hashtag. Look for a website like hashtracking.com that helps track the analytics for you. The native Twitter analytics don't give you the information that you'll need to understand how your hashtag was used. And it's always good to analyze how well you did in order to understand how you can improve for the next time.
And finally, for today's program, let's turn to Ashley Chisholm for a look at Adventist history.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. From March 1st, 1878 through March 4th, 1878, delegates convened in Battle Creek, Michigan for the third Special General Conference session. Those who lived too far away from Battle Creek in order to arrive in time for the short special session were encouraged to write letters about their situation, needs, prospects, and desires, and send the letters, instead of themselves, to Battle Creek. Even James White, then president of the General Conference, was unable to attend due to illness, but wrote in as he could. The General Conference Committee called this special session in order to address the fact that the church's work was rapidly growing and needed providing for. The main item that the session addressed was the Sabbath School interest and led to the organization of the Seventh-day Adventist Sabbath School Association on March 4th, 1878. The association's first executive committee was made up of D.M. Canwright, S.N. Haskell, and W.C. White. One of their first suggestions was the publication of a songbook and the publication of instruction books for children, as well as the promotion of children's meetings at camp meetings. 138 years later, the Sabbath School and Personal Ministries Department, as it is now known, is still busy with providing literature and other resources for Sabbath schools across the globe in order to, as its original constitution in 1878 stated, efficiently train their members to be totally involved with the grand mission of the third angel's message. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join our global conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with Adventists worldwide through more stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News, Twitter @Adventist Church, and Instagram @Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verses 30 and 31. The passage says, "Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.